I think people just give it a hard time because it was coming out bigger than ever, you know. It was really coming out bigger than ever at the time. I remember reading magazines and just trying to look for everything I could find on that movie as a kid. And it was bigger than ever. And, you know, I guess after the status of First Blood Part 2 being such a big, big movie, I guess they were afraid that it would become a very controversial topic, you know, a very controversial thing. And then after the unfortunate events of 9/11, which we'll be getting to in Season 4 of Rambomania, after those unfortunate events on that fateful day, fateful morning, you know, people really, I think people really didn't want to like Rambo 3. Not that they didn't like Rambo 3, but they didn't want to like Rambo 3. Which is weird because, you know, everybody talks, you know, like, oh, the last, you know, Rambo 2 and 3 sucked, blah, 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 blah. But, you know what, give them the opportunity to watch Rambo, and usually they watch Part 2 and 3. If they're going to watch it for entertainment purposes, they're going to watch 2 and 3. And, you know, I'm not saying First Blood's not in the same caliber. First Blood, to me, in my opinion, is the best out of all of them. For me, it's, you know, First Blood and then I love the other 3 kind of equally. But First Blood is, like, the best. You know, like, one of the best viewing experiences anyone could ever have. And I forgot where I was going with this. But, I can, you know, people really give Rambo 3 a hard time. And they shouldn't be giving Rambo 3 a hard time, you know. It's still a great movie. The cinematography alone, never mind the amazing action, never mind the amazing stars, never mind the amazing Jerry Goldsmith, just the cinematography alone for that movie. And considering the circumstances of I think it's Andy McDonald who got that job of directing that last second, having the little experience that he did, you know, the only thing I gotta say is that is a beautiful, that's an amazing movie. That's an amazing accomplishment for a director of his status at the time. And the cinematography alone is beautiful. Every shot in that movie is beautiful. The close-ups are beautiful. The pans are beautiful. The long shots are beautiful. Everything. The choreography is intense. It's intense. You can't, you know, I can understand, okay, Rambo 3 is a little bit slower than First Blood Part 2. You know, it takes a little bit longer to get to the action. First Blood takes even less time to get to the action. But, you know, watching Rambo 3, okay, there is a little bit of a stretch until you get to the action, but it's Rambo, you know what's coming, and when it does happen, you're stuck in there. And it's the superhero Rambo, you know, it's the evolution of Rambo. Like Wildman was saying last night on the show, the evolution. You get to see the evolution side of Rambo. I want to say evolutoria, blah blah blah. Okay. It's still early. I'm really groggy. So yeah. I don't even remember what question I was on. Oh yes, question number 7. Describe your first Rambo 4 experience. The energy must have been wild in the room in anticipation. Do you recall anything special from the day you saw it? What was going through your mind? Did the crowd react well to seeing Rambo 4 on the big screen? What was it like to finally see Rambo 4 return in the theater? That's question number 7. Brent writes, Rambo 4 was about as intense an anticipation as I have ever had for any movie coming out, period. Period. Like Colonel Chapman says, period. I anxiously looked forward to that movie for months. I was captivated by the trailer. Brent, me too. When I saw that first trailer, like even the second trailer and the TV spots were good, but when I saw that first trailer, I thought I was dead and in heaven. Because I really thought they were going to play on the less bloody PG-13 aspect. And that, my friend, the trailer alone was rated X. Or R, closer to X. And the trailer that came out after was even a little more pushed towards the X. But that was a beautiful trailer, and we're going to get to that trailer in Season 4. And we're going to talk about the spark that trailer caused in the community. So I'm going to get back to Brent's answer for number 7, for question number 7. I was captivated by a trailer whose violence shocked the world when it came out online. It was a day I'll always remember fondly. A coworker of mine wanted to go see it with me because he knew I was a huge Rambo fan. I was always talking about Rambo at work and on my MySpace page, which I have already mentioned. This coworker was much younger than me, and he had never seen any of the first 3 Rambo movies, so I guess he was depending on me to fill him in as it went along. The anticipation in the air just before the movie started could probably be cut with only a Rambo knife. The theater was completely packed, and I think there were even kids sitting in the aisle. I should note that weekend was there was a ridiculous parody comedy movie called Meet the Spartans that finished number 1 at the box office, and Rambo came in second. It turned out that so many people who were too young to get into seeing Rambo, with its very hard R rating, paid for a ticket to get into Meet the Spartans and then snuck in to see Rambo instead. I guess nobody will know to what extent this hurt Rambo's box office numbers. Probably to a great extent. It should have been number 1, in my heavily biased opinion. But there's no doubting that this was a common and ironic development due to the 2 films' ratings. The movie itself was an event like nothing I had ever seen before or since. After the credits, I declared it the greatest action movie that has ever been made, and my favorite movie ever. Although actually it is tied for my personal favorite of all time with Rambo 2. I asked my coworker friend if he wanted to sit through it a second time, and he answered with, "Hell yeah!" So we did. And it was just as mind-blowing the second time. I went to see it 4 more times in the next 2 weeks. Although I actually should have gone more. Oh yeah, and the crowd clapped and cheered when Rambo gutted the bad guy, Tint. And also when Rambo popped out of nowhere and began to bow and arrow ambush on the Burmese soldiers, which probably ranks as my favorite scene in all the Rambo movies. It is simply that badass. It simply is that badass. It is simply that badass. And when Rambo's boat gets held up by the river pirates and Rambo was having the verbal exchange with them, I was literally laughing out loud because I knew Rambo was going to get out of it in badass fashion. I wasn't expecting 5 kills in about 2 seconds with a handgun, but wasn't surprised. I was also laughing when the mercenary leader was taunting Rambo on the boat ride, and I told my friend, this guy is going to get it good later in the movie. You watch. You don't fuck with Rambo and get away with it. The dream flashback scene midway through the movie was extremely emotional for me, as I'm sure it was for you, is for any serious Rambo fan, because the viewer has been with Rambo as he went through all the horrible stuff and all of that loss that he experienced. And in some way, we feel it too. It was also emotional knowing that Richard Crenna, Colonel Troutman, was gone and wouldn't be coming back. Same for Jerry Goldsmith. Although Brian Tyler picked up where he had left off perfectly, I am pretty sure I had tears in my eyes during everything after the final battle ended. When Sarah is searching for Michael among the fiery battlefield, littered with corpses, and Rambo stands high above the hill, on the hill, and tries to once again come to terms with the carnage he has both witnessed and unleashed. Before turning to start once again on the long road which had led him back home, and saw him come full circle, I think my jaw dropped when I saw Rambo walking down the road in his first bloodlight clothing, approach the mailbox belonging to his father's ranch. Also, I was just happy that he survived the movie, because I had a dreadful feeling that after having been shot through his shoulder in the battle, bleeding profusely, and being a much older man, I was afraid that he was going to just collapse to his knees after gutting tint and die right there. I was thinking to myself, you can't kill Rambo, and they never do, to be quite honest. Yes, Rambo Brent has come back from the dead more than one time and in more than one fashion. In the novel, in the original first movie, Rambo 3, very big brush with death. Rambo 4, getting shot, that's a very big one. And at the same time, surviving the bomb explosion. A big personal favorite of mine in the cinema was the throat-ripping scene. People went nuts. But I think everybody who had seen that trailer was waiting for the 50 caliber scene itself. And when Rambo decapitates that one guy and then turns that 50 caliber into the Jeep and explodes, turns the other guy inside out into paste. Even though it's not the same cut we got in the trailer, it's a tiny bit different, just as graphic, but just a tiny bit different. I went nuts. And everybody went nuts. It was Rambo time. You know, it was out. People were screaming. People were cheering. People were flipping out through that whole thing. Just like, and all those scenes you mentioned too, the crowd was going crazy. As well as with the throat-ripping scene. You know, the pirate scene, everything like that. I had a little feeling too that they might have killed Rambo off. But I'm really glad they didn't. And I was in tears when Rambo was looking down. And we got the Sarah's theme music by Brian Tyler. Brilliant score. Rambo's looking down over everything, and my heart was just there, you know. And I was like tears in my eyes, and every time I see that scene, I get teary. So brilliant. All right, moving on.